Let's say you've come up with a bunch of options. How are you going to decide which one to pick? You could flick a coin. What are the other ways of thinking about it? If you want to, pause now and think that through. Come up with your own answers, and then I'll give you mine. Okay, well, I think the main way in which one comes up with what is the best option is to think about some criteria with which you can evaluate the options. It's a pretty basic approach, but it's always worth remembering that the basic approaches are the ones that typically are the best. They're the ones that have been proven to work over time. Now, the question is, what kind of criteria? Again, you might want to pause the video and just think through, well, what kind of criteria would you think are required to evaluate strategic options? Well, I tend to think of three types of criteria. And within these three types, there's a whole host of different options you have. The first type is strategic. Does this option either build on competitive advantage we already have, or allow us to build competitive advantage in the segment that we want to compete in? That would be just one example of a strategic criteria. Another one would be market attractiveness, or the growth rate of the segment, or the size of the segment within which we want to compete. Then there's another set of criteria which I would call financial, and I'd include in that, does it offer us good returns? Does it have a good NPV? And also risk is part of that. That could be separated out as a fourth category, but I bundle it in with the financial side. What does the upside look like versus the downside? And then the third type of criteria are those which assess the feasibility of an option. Do we have enough manpower? Do we have enough management bandwidth? Do we have enough money to be able to attempt this? It could be that it's strategically attractive, that it's financially attractive, but we just don't have enough resources. It's not feasible. So in any situation, you will typically get a blend of strategic, financial, and feasibility criteria. And a good way to check you've got a good list of criteria is make sure that all three types are covered. Then I think there's quite a lot of customization you can do. It depends on the specific situation. It depends on the organization as to which criteria are most important. Obviously, if you're very short of resources, feasibility criteria might figure very highly. If you've got lots of resources and you're really thinking long term, then you may be really emphasizing the strategic criteria. So you need to think through some criteria that are sensible for the situation, but just make sure they cover those three areas.